So he must have thought this woman has the handwriting of a serial killer. So when the folks at the Shambhala Center told him that some guy that looked unstable at best keeps coming around and looking for him, he might have thought, stalker. For all I know, he moved to Houston to get away from me. But the important part is I became a permanent fixture at the Shambhala Center, and I spent the rest of 2006 studying meditation, attending teachings, and reading books about Buddhism. It was at the Shambhala Center on January 20th, 2007, when a woman I knew stopped by briefly just to pick something up. And as she was walking back out the door, almost as an afterthought, she turned around, she asked me if I wanted to ride to the airport with her to pick up a teacher. Without much ado, I said yes. At the airport, Lisa and her 2 daughters seemed nervous. They kept pawing these white scarves that they had brought as a gift to this teacher. Suddenly, one of the girls yelled, "There he is!" And when I turned around, I saw my Lama for the first time. He was standing there just like he had jumped out of one of these Buddhist books that I've been reading. He had the shaved head and the robes and the mala beads. He looked just like a real Tibetan Lama. That's because he was. I got so excited I jerked a scarf out of one of the little girl's hands and ran over there and handed it to him. The rest of that week I spent driving back to Floresville, going to work, showering, going back to San Antonio, attending his teachings, staying up half the night with him, and then driving back to Floresville to do it all again the next day. After the last day of teachings, we returned to Lisa's house, and the Lama had his bags packed and by the door. Afraid, I said, "Lama, where are you going?" He smiled and he said, "Your house." We spent the next 4 days together. I don't think I ever let him sleep, and I don't think I ever stopped talking. I think he was pouring himself into me, and I was absorbing him, and it was like healing oil. But all too soon, we had to take him back to the airport, but he would return twice that year to San Antonio to do more teachings. At the end of 2007, on Christmas Day, my kids were with their mother, and I was completely alone. Lacking anything better to do, I decided to use the volunteer card that I had ordered in November, which allowed me access to go to the local homeless shelter and help out anytime I wanted. Now, I'd like to tell you that the sky parted above the shelter when I arrived, and the sound of God's voice boomed down throughout the heavens and said, "Enter now into your life's work. You have been called from your mother's womb for a time such as this." But in reality, I got lost on the way there. I parked in a no parking zone, and I was led straight in the back door to do dishes the whole time. I wasn't a cool Christmas elf giving out gifts. I wasn't a hip Santa's helper that got to serve the food. To tell you the truth, I don't think I even saw a homeless person that night. Just stacks and stacks of dishes. And when I came out, there was a parking ticket on my windshield that ended up costing me $35. Merry Christmas to me. But I spent 2008 studying at the Shambhala Center, being visited and communicating with my Lama, and doing volunteer work at the shelter when I could. 2009 started out by me being laid off my welding job, which I saw as a sign because I had made up my mind that I was going to find a more spiritually fulfilling career anyway. The day I was laid off, I remember writing out my mission statement, going to a lonely park in Floresville and climbing up a huge petrified oak that had fallen over probably 100 years ago, and reading my mission statement out loud for the whole universe to hear. Then I got busy trying to find my life's work. I applied everywhere. I got interviews to work with the mentally and physically challenged, with children homes and nursing homes, with animals and environmental jobs, but in the end, Nobody seemed to want me. In order to keep my unemployment checks coming in, I had to sign up with the Texas workforce. They kept a list of my job skills on some database, and every once in a while they would send me an email telling me about a job that I might qualify for. Because having a CDL was one of my job skills, I got an email notifying me that a San Antonio nonprofit needed a driver to go around the city picking up donated items like canned goods, clothing, and furniture. It happened to be the same homeless shelter where I had been volunteering. I got hired there on August 28th, 2009, and I immediately started doing meditation classes there at the shelter on Saturday mornings, and on Sunday mornings I would do a meditation class at a transformational center on Blanco Road that were for homeless families. For reasons I still don't fully understand, I lost my job there on December 28th, 2009. But there was a shift in my spirit. It seemed that everything I was trying to do up to that point was going wrong. I figured I'd just go out under the Commerce Bridge and start doing my own meditation, and if somebody showed up, fine. Every day or so, I'd drive in from Floresville, find a place to sit under Commerce Bridge or Buena Vista Bridge. At the time, that is where the majority of the homeless hung out, there by the shelter. I would sit in the lotus position, put down a yellow meditation cloth, and place certain Buddhist objects on it. I had a small Buddhist statue, some incense, some Tibetan handbells, some flowers, and a picture of my Lama. But I think the worst part was nobody would speak to me. It was very lonely. But one day, all of that changed. There was this very talkative elderly gentleman that sat in the same place every day. He called everybody by their name when they passed, and he always had something funny or encouraging to say. And for some reason on this day, when I was getting up to leave, he called me over. He asked my name, what all I was doing down there with the incense, if I was a Hare Krishner. He wanted to know what my religion was, how it all worked, and so on, and he was genuinely interested. Now, I never approached anyone down there uninvited. I always planned on just doing my own meditation. But after that day that Charlie spoke to me, people just started lining up for meditation instruction. And I was able to have some really awesome conversations with people. I was later told that a guy said, well, if Charlie thinks you're all right, you must be all right. Sometimes after meditation, I would open my eyes and I would find money, buttons, sandwiches, and other stuff that people had put on my prayer cloth in front of me. They once gave me a groovy psychedelic hat and a $5 bill. I wanted to leave that in there because that sounds like a great name for a band. The groovy psychedelic hat and the $5 bill. During this time, I got an email from a reporter from the San Antonio Current, and he said that he knew I was doing street meditation, and he asked if he could follow me around for a day. We met at a certain time and place, and things couldn't have gone better. It had been raining all week, but on the morning we met, the sun came out into a clear, crisp blue sky. It was so refreshing to have sunshine after so many dark days of rain. Everybody on the street was almost giddy with happiness. This reporter followed me down to Commerce Street Bridge, and everybody seemed excited to see me. Everybody wanted mala beads to hang out, to meditate with us. In front of this reporter, suddenly everybody was full of information about Buddhism and meditation. He must have thought I was really doing something great down there, but really it was just the sunshine. He even drove to Floresville to see my house and meet my family. Well, I'd been hearing about this huge facility that they were building to provide resources for the homeless in San Antonio, so I went to their website and I looked for job opportunities. I didn't find one job that I qualified for, but there was a position called custodial trainer. The job description said, performs the duties of a custodian and provides on-the-job training for members on campus who might be interested in working in the custodial trade. At this point, I was so